This is Ada Babineaux from the San Antonio Black International Film Festival, and we thank you for tuning in. We thank you for watching today's showcase, kind of in line with June's Father's Day, and we can get a mixture of Black Music Month theme too in there. But we are so honored to bring the filmmaker to speak after our Real Talk discussion. So I want to bring in Dame Drummer. Hashtag Dame's Drummer. So do you go at all by Damon Jamal Taylor, or is it just Dame?
When I'm presenting my film, I recently just started going by my natural born name when I became a film director. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because it was something that I was very close to, and that was, I think, is about as intimate and as vulnerable as I let myself be seen to the world. So that was like me, you know. It was like Dame Drummer is the music, you know, but you know, Damon Jamal Taylor, that's who I am, and I wanted to show people who that was, and that was probably a closer, as close of a look that you could get into my personal life outside of my music as possible to that film.
Well, yeah, I wanted to say that Dame is a Grammy nominated producer, singer, songwriter, and now filmmaker. So,
well, I have to correct you just real quick.
What you want to correct me on? Go ahead.
We won the Grammy. So yeah.
Tell me about that, because you know I stopped watching Grammy and Oscars a while ago because I just think those shows are so biased. But please,
yeah, I work with a phenomenal group called Alphabet Rockers out of the Bay Area, out of Oakland in particular, and they make children's music. So it's like not your traditional children's music, but it's like, imagine if the Panthers had grandchildren and they owned a record studio or a studio. So that's what the music sounds like. It's very socially conscious and aware, and they talk about a wide array of things. But consequently, they called me and asked me to, you know, produce some music for their album. And in 2023, we went down to Los Angeles. The group was nominated, and we took the stage and won the Grammy. So
yeah, we got to get the information on that, because now I got grandkids. I need to listen to the music too. If it's social consciously it's children's music.
Yeah, it's children's music, but it's not like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star music. It's like, hey, you know, you deserve to be heard, seen, felt. You know, don't let anybody push you around type music. You know what I mean? It's like that, speaking directly to the younger generation so that they can be raised with self-awareness and, you know, all of those themes.
Okay, so start me off with the website, because I got to get this up.
Yes, my website is www.damedrummer.com, and you can find me everywhere at Dame Drummer.
So the music is on your website, Dame?
Yes, the music is on the website. I have over 4 albums. The Movement is Alphabet Rockers. I think it's their 4th or 5th album, but it was my first time, you know, working with them musically. And you know, the album is called The Movement. So it's a really, really great album. I mean, it's a Grammy Award winning album. So
really, I'm gonna check that out. You're hipping me here. Thank you. Okay, so let's go back.
The actual official term is Grammy certified producer. That's what it is.
Hey, yeah. Congrats on that. That's
Thank
awesome.
you so much.
So this film debuted in 2022, and it was part of SABIFF's festival. And we like to come back to people, because everybody can't win, and you know. But there are certain films that we set aside. We said we're gonna get back to them. We're gonna get back to this filmmaker, because we want to showcase the film. A lot of times during festivals, you show the film one time, people don't see it. So this is our chance to come back and really present it and show the filmmaker and talk to the filmmaker about the work. So thank you for being on, and congratulations with all that the film has done over the past 2 years. It's been 2 years.
2 years already. Can't believe it. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope that everyone who just saw it appreciated it. And if you ever have any questions, or you can always feel free to reach out to me. I'm very accessible online on the internets and all of that good stuff. So
So you had said that this movie was a passion project covering a space that was near and dear to your heart, or near and dear to a lot of Black men's who are fathers' heart. Why is that? Why was it a passion project for you?
I don't think that the world really understands how passionate we are about family, how passionate we are about the children that we create. You know, we tend to focus on, the narrative has always been the focus on the lack thereof, right? The narrative has always been the absentee father. You know, the narrative has always been, well, look at the Black community, the crimes is the crime, this, the there's, you know, where are the Black fathers? And it's like, that narrative is so whack to me, because all I've ever known was men who stepped up, men who were present, men who, whether they were doing good in life or bad in life, they always wanted to see the next person, you know, win, you know. So I felt like it was really important for me to tell this story. And then, you know, like I said, this has been my culture. But when I actually found myself in a place where I actually needed Black men, and they actually showed up and pulled up and actually kind of helped save my life, then I knew it was time for me to actually make a big enough effort to where this takes a broader, you know, approach and reach to the people to tell the story.
Yeah, thanks for that. So we just saw the film, but what was your, and you've been seeing it in the midst of people watching it or viewing it over the past 2 years, but what was your hope when you made it? What was your hope of what you wanted people to walk away with from this film, especially men?
My hope was that men would see each other, that we would actually see each other as an asset, you know, that we would, you know, we taught assets and liabilities. I wanted Black men to see each other, you know, and understand that, hey man, you know, out of everyone in the world who has our back, it has to be us. No one else has our back, you know, except for maybe our counterparts, you know, and the Black women. No one really understands us, you know. So we have these conversations with each other all the time, but very seldomly do we get to be vulnerable outside of the barbershop, or even in the barbershop, we don't really get that vulnerable. You know what I mean? So I wanted us to see that vulnerability is an offering. It's a cool offering. It's okay. It's a safe offering, you know, and I want that to become more of the culture for us, instead of just talking about surface level things, you know, sports, cars, women, whatever we talk about, you know, in these, you know, like I said, barbershop or locker room talk. I actually want us to cut to the chase and get to the things that really have us burdened or concerned, or even the things that we have joy about. I want us to talk more about these things so that we can help each other in our plight for to grow and to raise up the next wave of excellence.
But you know what? I want to just say this because I'm glad you touched on vulnerability, because that's a really um, interesting but hard emotion to really grasp for a lot of men. And it starts with the women raising them. A lot of time men are not allowed, even as kids. There's so much childhood trauma, Lord. I mean, just period.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's women who are kind of at the crossroads of when they're raising that man or that child, that boy, not to allow vulnerability. Oh, you don't cry, men don't cry. I mean, so God, I mean, that's where it starts. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. I love our women. I love our family. I've heard it more than once from a women and men, you know, quit crying like a little,
Yeah.
stop acting like a little, you know what I mean? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, it's like, you know, God gave us all these tear ducts, and it's like we're not supposed to use ours, you know, that we supposed to just leave them dry, you know, and vulnerability, like it is taught to us that it's a sign of weakness. And it's like,
Yeah.
actually your vulnerability is your strength, because it can actually give someone else a pathway to their own healing, you know, and to see things from a different, you know, perspective. So I have fellowship with some awesome men, and we do this well. We are very vulnerable. But don't get it twisted, you know, when it's a time for everything, you know, if it's time to turn up and do what we have to do as men on the other side, on the extreme other, then we will go
Mm-hmm.
there. But
Mm-hmm.
but it's more necessary to break down those walls, especially in communication, because we know it's a lot of brothers sitting down somewhere for a long time because they're not able to communicate, or they didn't have a healthy way to emote, or to be vulnerable, or to display the things that are really cutting them, you know, in the center of their souls. So we want to make sure that men know that, hey, brother, it is okay. Hey, if you cry on me, brother, I got you. I'm not gonna laugh at you. I'm not gonna tell you acting like a little nothing. I'm gonna say, brother, you know, come on, Hill, I got you. I'm gonna wrap my arms around you. And I mess with a lot of brothers who believe the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, that's great. So how did you come up with the idea to just make this documentary? Period. I mean, what, you sleeping, what, laying around one day and you just popped in your head, or has this been something that's been pondering for a while?
Well, like I said, I was in a very dark place, and some brothers. It was just like a perfect storm. It was the perfect storm, and I'm a man of faith, so I just thank God for that perfect storm. I was going through the beginning of a divorce. The pandemic had shut everything down, so I had nothing but time and space to think. You know, I had a lot of time alone, and that experience that I experienced with my brothers, I said, man, I have to tell this story. The other thing is I'm a musician, so during the pandemic, the early stages of it, you know, everything shut down, shelter in place. My lifeline was music and performing. Because I didn't have that, I said, what can I do to you know, to keep myself going? And so I said, a film. Let me just tell some stories, you know, and then let me score it and let me add music. That way I could still get my music thing off and stay fulfilled in that way. And that's how the film came. It was just a perfect storm of things happening in my life that made me step up and just put this film together.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Mm.
tell us about your process and how long it took for you to complete the film and work on it, especially since you said it was during the pandemic because everything was shut down. So how did you move forward?
I'm a person, I like to move quick and efficient, and from conception to first cut, it was probably 8 months.
Hmm.
8 months from conception to first cut. You know, we did a lot. We filmed a lot of music videos for the film. We did some um you know, traveling. My dad passed away, so we had to fly back to Ohio. You know, we did a lot in a little time, you know what I mean? And so the process was, we kind of had bookmarks. I didn't really do a lot of storyboarding because it was my first film. I really didn't know. I just knew what I wanted to talk about, how I wanted to present it, how I wanted the people to feel. And I had bookmarks on how I wanted it to begin and end. But the beauty of it was my father passing. And I know that sounds crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
that was actually the beauty, because we really didn't know what the meat of the film was going to be. When my dad passed away, I was really sad. And then I went to my cinematographer, Sal, and I said, Sal, I think when I go back to Cleveland, I think I want to take a crew with me. I think I want to film it. And he got super excited. He said, oh man, I was hoping that you said it and not me, because I think that's what's gonna make the film, man, you know. And you know, we were right. That was the turning point, because now you get to see me in real time actually talking about fatherhood, and my father passes, and you know how I handled that situation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's what great documentaries are made of. It's made of the unexpected, but you know you're going to capture it, you know, and you're just hoping that the magic happens. And that's what it was for that film.
Mm-hmm. Well, talk about dad because we do have that in the film, but because of him passing and any unresolved issues and all of that, how did that gel with you in connection with the making of this project and putting that in to that's a very vulnerable part
It's
of the film.
it's really kind of tripped out, because if I'm being honest, you know, I had a lot of trauma around, you know, my dad. And while I was filming the piece of me talking about my dad, there was still a little bit of fear in me, like as I'm speaking about my dad, because my dad was still alive when I was speaking my part, right, about him. So there's a lot of stuff that I didn't really tap into. I kind of like, you know, glossed over some of the stuff, you know, wanted to honor my dad, but at the same time, I didn't want to, you know, bring up some stuff that, you know, have him upset or whatever. But I kind of like, you know, glazed over a lot of that stuff. So there was a lot of trauma, you know, for me. And there was a lot of things that my dad did that I didn't understand and I demonized him for. But until I became a man, I could start to understand, you know, some of the things that he was going through. So I think that him being, you know, as a focal part of the film is very important. What a lot of people don't know, I would say what most people don't know about the film is that you hear my dad's voice throughout the film. And what you're hearing is my dad and I's last conversation. You know, in this room where I'm sitting at right now, I was talking to my dad on a Saturday, just like any other Saturday. We talked for, you know, 2-3 hours. And I heard the spirit just say, you know, you better record this because this is going to be the last time you talking to your dad. Now I'm sitting here talking to my dad about the film, where I'm at in the process, blah, blah, blah. And I hear this voice say, you better get this because this is the last time. And literally that was the last time I spoke to my father. And he died a couple of weeks, I think the next week. And so after I came home from the memorial is when I began to score that conversation. I began to put music to that conversation. And you know, I put that on the album, and then you hear some of it in the film. But yeah, it was just really wild. That's why I say I have to thank God, because these you can't make these things up. You can't write this. You know what I mean? Who would write this? They'd be kind of crazy to write their own parents' death and then score the death, you know, the conversation. It's just wild. But my dad was really he even said it. I said, Dad, I was recording this conversation. And he said, yeah, son, you know, if I could leave you and my grandchildren with anything, if I could leave y'all with something. And I'm like, why are you talking? Why did he say that? Because I felt like we both knew. I felt like the spirit was letting me know. I felt like he knew. And so, you know, I just have to credit my dad a lot for making this film. Actually, he didn't get a chance to see it, but he's very much, you know,
the inspiration behind it.
Those, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The things, what was the biggest lesson? I mean, because you said that there was trauma, but was there trauma enough for you to say, I'm not going to go that route? Because every generation is supposed to be better than the last generation. Now, Frantz Fanon talks about that. Every generation should be better than the last generation. And so what is it that motivated you to say, I am going to be a better man, be a better father? I mean,
yeah.
How did you get beyond the trauma to be able to step up as a man? Was it the music that helped?
No, I mean, if you listen, the very first words of the film, when the film first comes on, the very first thing I say is, far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a dad. And I show a picture of me when I'm like 7 years old. But I knew when I was 5, I knew that I knew the kind of father that I wanted to be when I was like 5. I could just say that. You know what I mean? I knew back then. I would say things to myself like, when I have kids, I'm not going to do this. Or when I have kids, I'm going to do this, you know? And, you know, you can ask my children today. Hopefully they'll back me up on this, but, you know, but I feel like I am the father that I wanted to become when I was 5. I always wanted to be a loving father. I wanted to show my children affection. I wanted to laugh with them. I wanted to play with them. I wanted to tickle them into their teenage years and grown-up years. You know, I just wanted to be very present. I wanted to support them. I wanted to be there for them. I wanted all the things that I longed for as a child. You know, I wanted to look up, you know, in the stands and see my children. Now, when my children do things, they're probably like, oh God, dad's here again, you know, but I'm like, I'm there, I'm pulling up, you know what I'm saying? They'll never be able to say my dad wasn't there for me. And those are the things that shaped me as a child. I grew up like that.
Wow, that's awesome. Talk about your background, your creative journey. Like, what fueled your interest in becoming a musician? And then we kind of, you kind of said why filmmaker, but musician wise, how did that enter into your life, and how did you move forward with that as a musician?
Hmm. I grew up in a musical family.
Oh, okay.
My grandfather is a who's who of basses. You know, his name is Chink Stevenson. He started out on sax, but he ended up, becoming an awesome, bassist. And his sons, my uncles, my mother's brothers, they were bassists. Or they are bassists right now, currently. And I grew up in music. My parents were, um, they love music. There was always music playing. Whether we're in the house, if we're in the house, there's music playing. When we go get in the car, there's music playing. When we get to the friend's house, we getting ready to go visit, there's music playing. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I grew up just having an amazing musical library of all kind of sounds. My dad listened to everything from, rock and roll to to soul, jazz. I have a expansive library of music in my head, so I credit that to my parents. They love music, and I was just always around it, watching my grandfather perform on stage. I was just really, um I was just like really infatuated by music. And then my mother would play this guy on her record player named Prince, and
This guy.
I'm like, yo, whoever this person is, they're speaking to my soul. They know my current self and my future self, and they know me. And Prince was when I said, I want to do this. This is what I want to do with my life. And
Mm.
yeah. So it goes way back. I There's not a time in my life where I can't remember being connected to music.
I was just watching something on YouTube with Prince on American Bandstand. He just had a birthday, June
June
7th.
7th. That's right.
Yeah. But I was just watching that, and I was just like thinking, like, damn, this brother. Prodigy is an understatement.
Mm,
What he could do at 19 coming out.
yeah. He's right.
Yeah.
He's right here too, over my shoulder, right there.
Oh, I see.
Hey, I said I want to be an artist like Prince, and I want to rap like Biggie. That's Biggie. But
and,
yeah,
and you
those
want to be a daddy. All
that's
three,
right.
musician, daddy, and everything in between.
Hmm.
That's awesome. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the soundtrack, because as a filmmaker, I mean, I always think filmmakers. I always say filmmakers are reject artists in some other field, and I'm not saying reject as in negative, but I was a dancer, and then that didn't work out, so I went to filmmaking. But I always still incorporate, my first film incorporated dance in it, and you're able to do incorporate that in it that you are passionate about in the process of your filmmaking, which is awesome. So
Hmm.
talk about the process of actually bringing together, you put together Oakland based musicians, and just the process of bringing them into it and producing a score which you had never done for a film before. How did that process, how was that for you,
Just
producing that part of it?
just think about this. Prince, I told you, Prince. When I heard Prince as a child, I knew it. A 6-year-old sing Purple Rain, I knew I wanted to do that. My film is just Purple Rain as a documentary. You know what I'm saying? It has music. I got featured artists on there. You know
Mm.
what I mean? It's a very telling story. We got daddy issues. You know what I'm saying? My dad passed away. It's the same. It's pretty much in my eyes. That's like my Purple Rain. And so
Mm.
I knew all I had to do was just be myself. I'm making music all the time. I create. I just knew that I had to just tap into the emotion, which was easy. It was my film, and just connect musically what I felt, during those times. And also, when I was involving the other artists, I wanted to give them a soundscape that they could connect to. I have some amazing artists on the project. I mean, if I can name them all, but they are all amazing artists. So I wanted to make sure that I gave them something that they could feel proud of, and also have a space where they could be vulnerable, because that was what I asked everybody. I said, hey, this is going to be a special project. I said, never before has there been an entire album dedicated to fatherhood, and what it means for people. And I wanted everybody to be actually to know that we were being a part of something groundbreaking, you know, something that had never been done before. So the soundtrack is just amazing. It's a beautiful tale. And once you get wrapped into it, it can very well be just an album. But when you listen to the stories, you're like, man, I can relate to so many parts in here, you know, because you're going to tap into your experiences. You're going to tap into someone, you know, experience, you know, so it's just one of those, you know, it's very relatable, but very timeless at the same time.
You know, I mean, as you're composing, for me, it's like as a composer, when you're watching the visual, because that's why film is so powerful for me. Because you know, when you listen to an album, you're visualizing, or when you're reading a book, you're visualizing. But when you're watching a film, they're bringing it to you.
Yeah.
So you're taking their vision and you know being embraced by it and as you watch emotionally. But like it's like when do you as you're composing it, like how do you know when to bring in a flute, when to bring in a guitar, when to bring in a bass as you're watching? How did that roll for you in your head to pull together the sounds for the scenes and the emotions that you wanted to engulf? How did, I don't know that process, so I'm just
Yeah.
like I'm just curious.
Being a musician, I wouldn't wish that on nobody in the world. I wouldn't wish it on anybody because we are very tuned in to everything moving. You understand what I'm saying? Like I know that could gloss over, but we literally are connected to everything moving. The trees, the birds, people outside laughing, people outside kissing, people outside fighting, animals, sounds. It's like everything we see is like, huh, you know, it goes in. And so when you're watching a film in silence, you know, you're just watching it. You're connecting because their faces are telling you, oh, this is a minor chord. Oh, this is
Hmm.
a major chord. You know what I mean? It's like it's telling you, you feeling everything in real time, and you can sit there and you can just put together the whole soundscape of the whole thing. I mean, like I said, I'm making music all the time. I'm watching people. I used to sit on the porch and, and just watch people walk down the street, and I would give everybody a beat. Everybody had a different beat. I would just sit there and beatbox to people walking. Some people
Huh.
had a fast pace. Some people had a slow pace. I would give them their own little, you know, don't tell nobody, y'all. Everybody watching, no. But that's weird. That's kind of weird. But that's the things that I used to do because I was just like really in tune to, and I wanted to be in tune and learn everything around me. So I approached that same thing when I put the film together. When I scored, I just watched everybody, and you know, the emotions was kind of like telling me what to do.
Hmm. That is interesting. So, do you have any plans on doing any more since you've learned from this process, doing any more scores? Or are you open
Yeah,
to that?
absolutely. So as I was on the film festival circuit, I started getting work. You know, I'm going. You know, filmmakers were calling me up like, "Hey, man, can you score this? Can you score that?" So that was beautiful because you know that's what I envisioned when I made it out. You know,
Wow.
when I said, how can I keep myself afloat? How can I stay working because we ain't do nothing, can't go nowhere. But obviously, you know, it was like also a calling card to show exactly what I could do, you know, what I was capable of. And so it's been beautiful. People have been calling me. I've been scoring things, you know, people want me to direct their film and videos and all this other stuff. So I got to say that I'm pleased with that.
Did you have any idea making? I mean, did you have any idea what was to come after? And that's the amazing thing. I always compare film to children, and making a film is really childbirth for me. I mean,
Mhm.
because no, there's so much that you go through in that 8 month. Yours was 8 months. Some people's are their gestation period is longer. It depends on whether you get funding and whether you can get it done. But did you have any idea what was to come after the process, after you completed it and put it out there, or you just like, okay, let me just wait and see what happens?
I knew I looked up docu-musical on Google and it said, "Did you mean?" And I'm like, "Nah, I meant docu-musical." So I knew that it hadn't been done before. And my hope was that it blew up because I was spending all my money on the film. You know, I got a little grant up front, but everything else, I was betting on myself, putting it all in there, So I was hoping that, it took off, faster than it did, but it hasn't, and I'm okay with that. But yeah, I think that an artist always has big aspirations for their endeavors. We create something and we think it's the best thing since sliced bread. So we want everybody to feel like that. So I'd be lying, if I said I just made it and didn't have any expectations. We always have expectations, but the overall impact that I set out for, that has been the thing that has really been overwhelmingly just kind of blowing my mind, because like you asked me before, that I wanted to speak to the men, but what I didn't foresee was that how this movie would affect the women. And the women were coming up to me at the film festival saying, "Oh my gosh, I didn't think about this. I didn't have any idea, or my partner has a daughter and I'm jealous of the daughter." And I'm just like, oh wow. And I mean, with tears in their eyes, I'm just like, oh wow, I didn't see this coming. So it's one thing to create something and to think that it's yours and that you control it, but it's really not my film. I was just stewarded it to make it because it's doing even more than I thought it would do. So in that sense, I feel like I let go of what I wanted it to do, and I'm just going to sit back and watch it do what it's going to do. And and then when anyone wants to talk to me, great people like yourselves, then I'm here for the conversation. But I realize that I let it go. It's not my film, it's for the people.
One thing that I know, he says that you're dedicated to creating high vibrational music and films that encourage, educate, and inspire. And that's one of the things I want to do with this damn film festival, man. But it's like getting folks to buy in, to come in, is just like, that's been the challenge. Doing great stuff, but getting people to come in to the fold and actually stop down. Everybody's so used to quick answers, quick seeing things, and so it's a challenge. But it seems like what you've started is something very therapeutic.
I like therapeutical. I like therapeutical.
No, therapeutic, because it's like getting people to converse, to come together in a communal way, to talk about shit that's been like bothering them or bottled up, or things that they're, like the onion has so many layers that we got to get through to get to the onion. It's the same thing with people, and especially now with the whole social media craze, where we're hiding behind the stuff that we're putting out front, the beautiful stuff. And so I think that this is very, very important work that people and even filmmakers need to start doing, because film is such a powerful tool. And that's what I'm trying to get with this festival. Film is such a powerful tool. You're bringing together audio and visuals. You're creating emotions. You're creating new, you can create activism. You can create different mindsets. Film can change your life. And so it's, don't get me off my high horse. Let me stop.
No, go and stay up there.
No, I'm very passionate about it. I'm very passionate. And, as a filmmaker, what I think the biggest roadblock is getting the freaking money to produce your film, to get it done, to bring the people, the other creatives into the fold to help you bring it to life.
Yeah, I think that was one thing. That was a big challenge. Like I said, instead of me buying some property and, which I'm not gonna say I should have done, but I could have done that, but I put it all into the film because I thought it was, I thought it was just that important. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that was my biggest obstacle. Is like, nobody wanted to fund it. I'm a musician. I'm not a filmmaker. And when you say I want to make a film, people are like, yeah, but you play the drums, or you do that. They have this box for you. And they're like, I don't know about that. So it's like, well, I know about that. So I think that whoever is, watching this, you cannot, if you see it, if you have the vision, then put it into action. And make no excuses. Oh, I don't have a cameraman. Well, listen, most of everybody has a cameraman. It's right in your hand. Most of
Exactly.
our phones shoot 4K now. So yeah, get somebody to hold that phone, figure out your framing. You can do it. It doesn't have to look like, it came from Tyler Perry Studios or Hollywood Studios, because there's a lot of stuff on one of the platforms that I'm on, looks like it was shot with iPhone, you know what I'm saying? Or it don't have to look like it's shot in the red, you know what I'm saying? Or Black Magic. So I would just say, hey, if you can see it, do it. Just like the movie Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
No matter if it's a slow rate, you know what I'm saying, increase of people is bringing awareness to, just do it. Just keep going, because there have been known to be some cult type films or albums that were started out small, only a few people knew about them, that ended up blowing up and being some big thing years later. So you have to just build it. If you don't build it, there's nothing for people to come to.
Thank you for saying that. I believe that wholeheartedly. Let's talk about what's next. What's brewing for Dame, Dame drummer? What is brewing for you? What any other projects?
I have
musically, filmy, just whatever.
I have some amazing music that's coming out that I can speak about. I have an album called Our Love that's coming out, and it actually allows me to speak about like love. And I felt like I was kind of like restricted to talk about those things, you know what I'm saying, or bring that kind of attention to myself because of a prior relationship. But I wanted to be liberated, and I wanted to make songs like that, and so I think I did it in good taste. So there's an album coming out called Our Love, and then there's an album coming out that I won't reveal the name to, because it's just so dope. But it's talking more about the spiritual side of me and the things that I see in the world with my spiritual eyes, and what this world means to me through those lenses. And the music is just incredible. It's everything is like nothing like I've ever done before. So anything you listen to is not going to sound like the previous thing I've done. And I'm really excited about those two projects. I'm also excited about writing my next feature, which is actually about my father's life. And I'm excited about those things. And then anything else that I create, I consider myself a master creator. I'm just really not placing any limitations on myself. Everything I do, I feel like it's better than the next, and I do it to inspire myself and others to just keep pressing and keep doing it. Dream as big as you can, and then go for it.
I don't know if you wanted to open that up a little bit more, but we were talking about that feature, and I thought it was so interesting. You want to give us a little hint about that, or no, not for now? Because I thought it was such an interesting concept. I loved it.
Yeah, I can give you a hint about it. It's like without saying much about what the movie is, because it's also a book as well, right? But oftentimes when we see things at face value, we just take it at face value, and we love to place labels on what we see as face value. But I think it helps us, to dig deeper in the conversation so we can find out what the cause is. It's always cause and effect. We look at the effect, we take the effect, we run with it. We don't do any investigation. We just say, oh, look at that. Well, look what he did, or look what she did, or look what they did, and we never take a look at, well, how'd they get there, And so that's what this film is going to be about. How did he get there? You know what I mean? And I think that the vantage point that I'm going to come from is one that needs to be told. Just like, most important stories, you just need to have that understanding, that baseline of understanding, and then that develops empathy. Not asking for sympathy, but we need to have empathy with one another. Like, how did they get there? What's your story? Yep.
Yeah, thanks for that. So tell us how we can find you, see Black Daddy the movie. What are some avenues so audiences, if they're interested in following up, can reach you?
You can find me by clicking your heels together 3 times and saying Dame Drummer. No, you can find me at Dame Drummer on all social platforms. You can hit up my website, sign up for my email list at damedrummer.com. And also musically, look for me. I could be coming to a city near you. I have tons of music that you can go and check out. Dame Drummer. It's all, positive music. It's hella black. It's most of my music is like love manifesto for black folks, and then whoever else want to partake, they are welcome to enjoy the music as well. But I really have a passion for our people. I really want to see us do well, do better. I really want to see us become our greatest versions of ourselves in the community. So I tend to make music that kind of like pushes us, in that direction. And yeah, I'm like I said, I'm accessible. I'm not hard to find. I do respond to DMs, the right ones. And it's all good.
Well, Dame, thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking with you, and I'm very much looking forward to what's next in store musically as well. I'm getting exposed to you. I didn't know about you, so this film has brought the musical part of you into my fold. And so we want to encourage audiences to check out Dame Drummer at Dame Drummer, follow the music, follow the film, and all the best moving ahead. Looking forward to what's to come. So
Right
thank
on.
you.
Maybe one day I can venture down to San Antonio and kick it with y'all, and do some music, maybe do a show or something. I would love to do that.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna stay in touch because we do festival themes, and every year we change themes. This year is healing and wellness. Last year was HBCUs. We had animation. So I do have in my brain percolating music. I want to do a film festival around music, soundtracks, films that deal with musicians. So that's down the line. So you will be coming to San Antonio.
All
So
right.
hold that thought. But again, thank you so much and all the best moving ahead.
Thank you.